Okay, so this video is the solution to lab 2 of the Web API, and this is for the first Web API. And here we go. I'm going to create a new project. Call it we're going to use ASP.NET Web Application .NET Framework. Call it the first API or first Web API. Here we select actually Web API and click OK, and this creates our first Web API. This creates our full Web API application. We got this welcome screen. Not to worry about that right now. Take a look at the controllers. Value controller, values controller, and here we see the basis of our API. We know that we need to inherit from API controller class, system.web.http, and then we have the verbs that translate to these calls right here. Nice and dandy. So another thing that we would like to explore is the global.asix. This is where all of our startup stuff is. The important one for the Web API is that we have separate routes for our Web API in case that we mix this with the application, which is typically the case. So here we go, and we go to definition, and here's where our routes are defined. And this uses this HTTP config config, and config routes map HTTP route. And so that's basically the basic skeleton. So we can go ahead and run, and yeah, here we need to see that it's API and then controller and then ID. So you can go ahead and run this. Then we need to type in the API values, because it's a values controller, and this is actually doing the authorization here, so we'll get rid of that. Go back here and refresh. And there we have it, values 1 and value 2, and then we can also request the other one, value ID, and we'll just get a string value, because all we're doing right here is returning the value. So first modification we can do here just to demonstrate a little bit how this works, instead of just returning this value, we can go ahead and return an object, and we can return a new object. And here we can say value equals value 1, and then we can say ID equals the ID that we passed up there. And this is going to be complaining because this is a string, but we can convert it to the object type. So now when we pass the ID, we should get the ID, always the value 1, but we're going to be getting the ID here that we passed in. So we're passing the 1. So the API knows that how to translate these things. It knows what we want. So here's the object, value 1, ID 1. Value 2, ID 2. So very cool. So to demonstrate all of these, I'm going to go ahead and create a list of strings and call it values, initialize values, and create this method right here, call it this is our method initialize values, and then we create a here we add a couple of values, value 1, value 2, and then we do values, return these values. So I created this list method that if you call these values, it will initialize these. So instead of returning this array here, we can just return values, and we should get a value 1 and value 2. Value 1 and value 2. Now here, now we can just return values, but pass the index that we want. So let's say we want to pass this ID that we're passing, and then we'll only return that one. So if we go here and return 0, it should only return value 1. There's value 1. And then for our post, which is a void, what we do here is we add the values. So we do values that add value, so we're just adding it. So we're going to test this with a fiddler, values that test value that we are passing here. To put is to update, so here we do values particular index, which is ID, equal to the value that we are passing right here from body. See this? Very interesting. And then to delete, we do values that remove at ID. So now we got all of these guys. Let's go to fiddler. Let's remove all sessions, and let's go ahead and just call the get again, just to have the get. there's our get, and we see that we're returning it. Now if we go to Composer, we can drag this here, and that will give us this that we can rerun. So let's get a value as 1 and execute. Let's take a look at what we're returning here, value 2. So let's go back to our Composer, and here we'll do our post. Content type application /JSON. So we're posting, we don't need the ID, and the body, let's put some new value. So when we execute, we go back here, now we should see some new value. Now we can also do the update here, which is a put, and for this we need the ID. Let's update it first index 1, which is the second. We keep this the same, and let's say update value. Execute, looks good. Fresh update value. And then let's do the delete, which is this guy right here. When we do delete, we definitely don't select the request, we don't send the request body. So it's still application JSON. We do need the index, which we want to delete. So we want to delete, let's say, the first one, the 0. Execute. And then let's run it again here, and it's gone. So this is basically just a quick lab 2 of the basics of using the Web API, demonstrating how to use the get of all values, get of a certain ID value, of using the post, put, and delete.